Wait, we're live now.
All right.
So I don't know what's wrong with the chat room, guys, but Bobby is here. Welcome to Bobby, and I'm just going to check to make sure that it's working on. Yes, I see it. Okay, so I see the chat room is back, Bobby. How nice is
Is it?
that?
All
Yes.
right. Let me refresh that. Make sure we're back in the mix here. Yeah. Hold on.
I hope that the shaman comes back.
All right. We're back in here. Okay.
Come back, shaman. I see you in the chat room, but you haven't been active in a while. And we're also on Facebook, I think, and YouTube too. But so we're going to talk some baseball, right? Because it's Labor Day, and I'm filling in for Mr. Polyboy. I should be letting you run the show because it's your show. Fantasy
No,
Fans.
listen. This is actually a very welcome day off as far as just enjoying the time and just being able to go off the cuff a little bit. But I would be remiss if I didn't say happy birthday to Paulie Boy. It was his
Yes.
27th birthday on Saturday.
Gosh, he's getting old. Don't tell him that.
No, I won't. Do you remember when you were 27, Andrea?
It's great to think about it because it's really the perfect time in your life. I mean, depending on what you're doing, but usually like you feel healthy, and I mean, I still feel healthy, but 27,
Yeah.
I probably didn't realize how good it was until
Yeah.
that's always how it is, right? So yesterday, Mike Rizzo was standing up in his suite, 40,000, like 4,000 square feet or something crazy. I don't know. Like he had the whole ballpark to himself. And it was going around on Twitter that he was kicked out for not wearing a mask by Joe West, of course, because Joe West is the umpire that we just love to hate. Like,
He's the
they,
cowboy, right? Isn't that
yes,
what they call him?
the
The
cowboy. I
cowboy
mean,
of the West?
whenever he wants to promote music, he just gets some drama going on and kicks Mike Rizzo out of the park. But so
Yeah.
when I go ahead,
No, I didn't understand the whole thing as far as the interruption of the game and interrupting the pitcher's tempo in that moment, and then
yeah,
even the bigger picture of Rizzo was in a box apparently by himself, just
right.
standing there, and he looked puzzled as all hell. He was like, "Are you serious?" And I think everybody who was watching had that same sentiment of like, "What's going on?" I mean, I and I'm coming from a place where I took my wife out for her birthday dinner 2 weeks ago, and I got to wear a mask outdoors to sit at my table. But then I sit at my table, and literally the neighboring table is shoulder to shoulder with me with their masks off. So I'm like, all of this stuff. And again, I don't want to get too political and my thoughts into this, but it just makes no sense. And now you're talking about Mike Rizzo, who's literally by himself.
But it wasn't
Hello.
over a mask, though. It turns out it wasn't over the mask. He was totally like he was giving him shit. He was yelling at the umpires from up. You know, he was yelling at him from up in the suite. He was like, "What's going on?" With he was just arguing balls and strikes and shit.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know where they came up with the mask thing, but you know, you can hear everything because there's no fans in the stadium. So there's no fans, and if you're talking shit on someone, they can hear you most likely, you know. And that's he was talking shit up in his suite, but I don't know why you'd get kicked out for this.
Yeah, is that the guideline now that
I mean, you're
if
not allowed to talk shit now to the
I mean
umpire.
because there's no fans now and it's only really team personnel, whether it be players or general managers, so everyone who's in there outside of the field crew. So if you hear any voice, if you're the umpire, that means you are eligible to get kicked out. That's ridiculous. That is and how can Joe West pinpoint that it was Rizzo? I mean, was Rizzo?
There's nobody there. There's
It's
nobody else.
it's kind of funny to me though that Rizzo was yelling that loudly, right? Like from
But
that
there's
box, he's screaming. Like, that's
but
hysterical.
yeah, but there's nobody else in the ballpark, so the everything that you say it is very like easy to hear it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I get it. By the way, Lenny's active, listening to you and I right now, telling
Good.
us
Hi, Leonard.
it's not the mask as well. So yeah, I just didn't know that up to this point, but
I'm glad I could help you out there because I was like, what? I mean, I first saw it last night. I was like, it is just never ending with this mask stuff. But it wasn't over the mask. So, okay, fine. Um, let's start today talking about this Seattle game earlier this afternoon. Marco Estrada. Wait, no, it's Marco Gonzalez that we're talking about here.
Mhm.
This guy, he entered the game 4-2 with a 3.09 ERA in 7 starts so far this season. Okay, he just lowered his walk rate per 9 innings from 2.5 in 2019 to a league best 0.8 per 9.
Mhm.
Not even a walk per 9 innings. So his strikeout rate increased from 6.5 to 8 per 9. Anyway, today he throws another 7 innings. He allowed 4 hits, 2 earned runs, and struck out 7. And now his ERA is down to 3.02. Is this guy available in any of your leagues? I don't know if he is, because to be honest with you, I haven't noticed what he's doing.
Yeah, he's definitely not available, but I would say just over the last, I don't know, 3 weeks is when people have been catching on to him. So, he's been on a lot of hot sheets and things like that. So people are starting to pick up. I mean, I don't know what's going on with him because this kind of came out. I can't say it came out of nowhere. He was serviceable last year. Like in some of my deeper leagues, he was definitely rostered. But yeah, I didn't expect this from him. And I mean, he's performing right now like what, Andrea, top 12 pitcher?
I think he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. I really do. I don't know his WAR, but I'm looking here at his statistics from 2019 and
Yep.
2018. And I mean, his ERA is right around 4 usually. For the
Yeah.
past 2 seasons, it's been right around 4, but he does like typically eat innings when he comes out, and he can get relatively deep in games. So August 31st. Wait, this is August 31st. He pitched 9 innings. That was last week.
Mm-hmm.
A whole game, complete game. You got to love that, especially in points leagues when you get points for innings pitched, which brings me to one thing that I was also too scared to look at. You said earlier that Zach Plesac is doing well, but I spent $201 on him in Tout Wars. There's 3 weeks to go. It's a points league, and the fact that he was even available was crazy. I'm ready to look, though. I'm ready to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I checked, it was 7 innings. He gave up 1 earned run and 4 Ks.
Okay, how bad could it be then, right?
I mean, he might have even been pulled at that point. Yeah, it looked like because the game's over. So
Okay.
he got the W.
Oh my goodness. And I will tell you how many points I got for him in Tout Wars real quick. But we don't have to wait for me to look this up.
I mean, the
Because
strikeouts were low, which honestly, that's my biggest surprise about Zach Plesac is that last year, if you would remember, he wasn't even striking out a batter an inning, and it was like, all right, He was more of a ground ball guy, and I was kind of tempering my expectations of him, but I liked him. Right, he had good action on his ball, and I was like, all right, I like him, but I'm a big guy where strikeouts per inning is a good indicator. But this year, I mean, he's channeling his inner Dan Plesac. He's definitely striking out a lot more guys, and even with that layoff, Andrea, as far as the suspension, it didn't seem to rattle him at all.
no.
It seemed like it had more an effect on Clevenger than it did on this young kid. He just
Well,
came back and just resumed what he was doing.
so it's very interesting to see his numbers get so much better. Like he's pitched 27 innings this year and he struck out 30 already. And last year he pitched 115 innings and struck out 88. So he wasn't, like you said, he wasn't a great strikeout pitcher, but he worked with Clevenger in the offseason, and him and Clevenger said that he's going to come back and strike out a ton of batters, that will strike his strikeout rate. He said that literally before the season. He was bragging about Plesac. I didn't like his apology very much, but whatever.
No,
He's pitching unbelievable. And so I knew that I had to spend a good chunk of money on him to get him. Tonight he got me 35 points
that's
in
awesome.
our points league. And I'm right behind first place. I fell out of, I was tied for first. Now I'm I think I'm tied for third, but it's only off by a couple wins. So we switched it from head-to-head points league to where every week you get roto points for where you finish in points, but it's not against each other head-to-head. It's overall. So you get 12 points all the way down to 1 point for the week, depending on where you finish. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. It makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. So, I mean, it's great that you got him. I have him. I traded for him in my auction league, because he was drafted in the original auction for $1, which means next year he's a keeper for $4. It's a $3 increase in the first year. And I,
Nice.
and I got him for, get this, I got him for Hector Neris, and who else did I get him for that actually, and Benintendi.
Oh, goodness gracious. Benintendi's so, I mean, you know what kind of year that
Yeah.
everybody does. Denelson Lamet is another pitcher. He's going up tonight against Colorado, I believe, at home, though. Denelson Lamet has been pretty consistent, like probably the Padres' most consistent starting pitcher so far this season, but the last couple outings have not been great for Lamet.
Yeah.
You got to love his strikeouts. The only
You
reason I
do.
have him on my Tout Wars team is because I wasn't going to let him go for like $10 in the draft. So I put him on my team after I've told everybody not to spend so much money on Denelson Lamet. I was like, well, I'm not going to let him go for $10. So he's been really surprisingly good.
Yeah. I mean, he's I like him. I like him. I kind of temper my expectations with him just because he's young. I've seen some up and down with him, so I want to get more excited about him.
Well,
But
he hasn't been able to stay healthy. That's for sure.
that's a big piece of it, right? For sure.
Yeah.
So, but speaking of getting excited,
Yeah.
can I talk about Trevor Rogers for a second?
Oh, was it you that was all excited about him? I actually have
Yeah,
him in my note right now. Did you see him in the notes that I sent you?
I did, and I saw him, and I did mention him to you, and I got to tell anyone who's listening.
Yes, go, dude. I
Don't
put him in here just because you said something about him.
But
I
don't but
forgot.
don't get him confused. There's a Taylor Rogers, a
Oh, I
Tyler
know.
Rogers, and a Trevor Rogers.
Okay, but they're not all three brothers. But Tyler
No,
and Taylor are brothers.
is that true? I didn't know that. I didn't know. One's the San Francisco relief pitcher. One I think is in Seattle, and then there's this kid in Miami, right? Oh,
Minnesota
Minnesota.
closer.
That's it. That's it. That's right. Okay. That's
But
it. Minnesota closer, San Francisco relief pitcher, and then this kid.
you like the Rogers in Miami, okay? Right?
I
And
do.
this guy, but he never pitched in AAA. He moved right from AA up to the majors.
Yep. Yep. And I watched him pitch against the Mets in his first start.
Okay.
And I do listen to SNY, which is the Mets home broadcast, and
Yeah.
I was because I loved him. I kind of have a little bit of a scout's mind, so I watch these guys, I take some notes. But what Keith Hernandez was all over him too. Keith Hernandez said there's something about this kid, and I couldn't agree more. There was just he had a poise and a composure on the mound, even though he didn't look super sharp in his first start. His walks are still high, right? You got to see him button that up, but his overall presence on the mound, Andrea,
Yes.
was something to get excited about. And then yesterday he struck out 10, which was a little bit of like a fast forward because I expected that kind of result maybe in start number 5 or 6, but to see it in start 3, I'm like, all right, this kid has a maturity. And on that Miami staff, I mean, they got a lot to be excited about over there. I mean, I can go on and on about Sixto Sanchez too, but I'll keep it at Trevor Rogers.
No, let me just say I would not even have really paid attention to this kid because he hasn't really been okay. His history is that he was number 13 overall in 2017 in the minor, in the player draft, and he received a bonus, but he did not really pitch very well, and so he's basically older than the rest of the kids in his class. And they say he only has at the moment he only has 2 pitches that he uses, and although I have to say he didn't walk anybody the last outing that he had. He did give up 3 home runs. Did he give up 3 home runs? 3 solo homers.
I'm not sure. I
But
know.
other than that, he was excellent, it says. And he struck out 11 and walked 7 across his first 2 outings. Okay, that's not bad. And like you said, he's very young. So and the whole thing about mound presence is real. It really is real. It's the mound presence thing. I'm glad that you took that away, so I will keep him on my radar. I don't know if he's fantasy relevant yet. Do you?
I have him in one of my auction leagues, just kind of sitting on my bench for. I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it moment by moment and start by start.
I'm
I'll probably go by matchups with him. I probably wouldn't start him against a powerhouse team, like if he was pitching against. Obviously, he's not going to be pitching against the Dodgers, but if he's pitching against the Braves or the Yankees, I might not start him. But if he draws a weaker matchup, he's the kind of guy that I would roll the dice with. I mean, especially if I needed strikeouts. So
I don't know why you're not pitching him now. Right now, he has a 3 ERA right now, and he has 21 strikeouts in 15 innings. And he's played against who's he played against? Pitched against who?
I know it was the Mets. You know what? I can't remember off the top of my head who the other two starts were.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But I know he's 1-0. He's got 21 Ks in 15 innings pitched altogether. That's what I'm seeing, and then 8 walks altogether. So about a walk every other inning, which young kid. It's but a 1.20 WHIP, which means he's kind of minimizing as much as the walks might be a little bit higher. His WHIP, I'm only seeing is it about a 1.20. Are you seeing that?
I see his game log right now, and I will say that he's gotten better with the walks each and every time that he goes out there. First outing against the Mets, he walked 5 batters, and then the second outing he pitched again against the Mets at the New York Mets, and he walked 2. And then last outing he went to Tampa Bay and he walked 1 and struck out 10. Okay, so you got it.
That's called progression, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. So he's getting better, not worse, but
yeah, I like him.
Who knows what it's going to be over the long, but you can't have him sitting on your bench. You might have roster him.
You might have just convinced me to just throw next game.
You're wasting points. And and believe me, you need to prepare yourself for the shitstorm that could happen at any moment with this guy. But until then, you got to keep him in. You got to put him in there.
Yeah, he's right now. I'm just trying to figure out in this league too if he's going to be a keeper of mine. He probably won't, but let's see in this next month what he does. By the way, Malpal just chimed in.
Hi, Malpal.
He said he picked the Marlins to make the playoffs even before the expanded playoff format. He said, can they be a top 5 seed? Listen, whatever Donnie Mattingly's doing over there in Florida, I mean, he's got the pitching. And they say, you know what they say about pitching. So, I mean, Florida.
What pitching do they have? I don't even know their pitching. That's how.
Well, they got this Rogers kid. They got another kid. It's like, what's his name? Is it Pablo?
I'm looking now.
Or something like that. And then they got Sixto Sanchez, who is just right now lighting the world on fire a little bit. Everyone's excited about this kid.
He's doing well. They have a lot of young players that are doing well and putting it together.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
but look at their pitching. They have Alcantara.
Yep.
I think Jose Urena. It's funny they have him as the number 5 in the rotation, and I'm sure that he started the season as their opening day starter. I'm almost positive of that.
Okay.
Now he's number 5. So he's been demoted several times throughout the season so far. Anyway, Brandon Kinsler is doing excellent as a closer, and that makes me happy. Speaking of Rogers, do you want to talk about Taylor's brother, Tyler?
Wait, hold on one second. Pablo Lopez.
Oh, that was their opening day starter?
No. But that's another guy in the Miami rotation who right now he's 3-3. I don't have all his numbers in front of me, but I know he's got a 3 ERA and a 1.23 WHIP. He's got 38 Ks. I'm not sure on how many innings pitched. It can't be that much.
It's 38 innings. 38 hits allowed.
So,
and
I mean,
38 strikeouts. Wow.
Again, I mean, we just rattled off 5 starters that are somewhat serviceable or better. That you can't say that about 95% of the major league teams out there.
It's totally true about their pitching. That's really what's doing well. So let's talk about Sixto for a second.
Yeah.
He's obviously not available anymore, right? I mean,
no.
The boat has taken off.
Sailed, they say.
The ship has sailed.
Yeah.
This guy also never went to AAA.
Yeah.
Double A, right from Double A up to the major leagues. But he did throw 103 innings at Double A last year, and his ERA was under 3. Right now, it's under 3 again. But he's pitched 19 innings and he started 3 games, so it's been very good for him. He's
Yeah.
gone up against Toronto, Tampa, and Washington. And the last 2 outings, he's pitched 7 innings each of the last 2. So he's been like way better than anybody could have expected, right?
100%. And if memory serves right, I think he started in the Philly system, and I think he was part of the Real Muto trade, as far as how the Phillies how the Marlins got Sixto. I think so, but I definitely know he was part of the Phillies. So I don't know how they acquired him, but again, he's had a lot of hype around him. I know for a couple years because I'm in a deep 16 team league that has an 18 player minor league system. So Sixto has been floating around for a while, and he has just gained traction over the last 2 years as far as excitement. And that was when he was with Philly. So I know he was probably one of the main targets Miami was looking for when they acquired him.
So he got traded in February 7th of 2019, and he was the headline for the Real Muto trade.
There you go.
Yeah, that's great. Sixto, he didn't pitch in Arizona when we were down there, and then I think we just really missed him for the most part. Lenny can chime in and say if we saw him or not, because he remembers everybody, and I forget.
Yeah. Well, Malpal is.
What does he think about the Padres? The Malpal. I mean, you gotta love the Padres right now, right?
I mean, the Padres are nothing short of exciting, and I'm not a big Preller guy.
You said that he's fighting for his job right now. I know you have a big problem with this guy. You don't think he's a good manager.
I don't. I think he just maybe I'm just sour because he went and he got Kemp and Upton that one year, and it just seemed like he was putting pieces together with reckless abandon and was a young kid. Maybe he's gotten a little bit more mature and is looking more critically at the pieces that should go together. So maybe I'm not giving him enough credit, and I'm open to pivoting on my mindset with him. But that pitching staff is I mean, now that he's got Clevenger with Paddock with Dilson with who else is over there in San Diego?
Lamet.
Yeah, Dilson Lamet. Yeah.
They have Pomeranz in the bullpen, right?
Is it Zach Davies isn't there, is he? Where's Zach Davies?
Yes, and he's pitching good too.
Yeah, Zach Davies
got Rosenthal. I mean,
yeah. So I mean, everyone knows it's no secret what they did at the trade deadline, right? They definitely got a lot of pieces. They were probably the most active team at the trade deadline. But San Diego.
I shouldn't even be admitting this right now. I shouldn't admit this, but I'm going to. I just found Mitch Moreland on the Padres depth chart. I thought he was a Red Sox. I didn't even see it. The trade.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they traded for him, so now he's going to be like a platoon at first base to spell Hosmer a little bit and DH a little bit. I know he hasn't been playing. I don't know if he played today, but the last 2 games they didn't play him, so he's probably just an extra left-handed bat off the bench at this point.
Do you know how many lefties they have in their lineup? They have second base, first base, center field, designated hitter, 4 lefties. And if you add Mitch Moreland's a lefty, and then they also have Trent Grisham. I thought Machado was
Andrea. I'm a big Trent Grisham guy. I felt bad for him last year in the playoffs when he overran that ball in Milwaukee, and then Milwaukee shipped him out, which was probably the best thing for him. But I think he's got a very bright future, Trent Grisham.
So, and then Jurickson Profar is a switch hitter. So they have 4 lefties and a switch hitter in their starting lineup. That's a lot. Yeah. But Grisham, Malpal liked Grisham too. I was just annoyed because I felt like he was going to take time away from Franchi Cordero, who got traded anyways and isn't good at all. Yeah. So, but I want to hit on Tyler Rogers and Kevin Ginkel, because these 2 closers are 2 guys that I was telling everybody to pay attention to. Lenny argued with me on both of them, but I do think that it's now going to be Tyler Rogers. It's Taylor's brother. It is
In
San
San
Francisco.
Francisco. San Francisco. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He has 3 of the last 5 saves
Yeah.
for the team. And then Ginkel is now probably the closer, even though he's actually not listed as the closer on RotoWire. They have him listed as a third guy in the bullpen. I do think that he will get the opportunity to close out games now that Archie Bradley is gone.
Yeah, probably.
Another trade that I didn't even pay attention to until I saw Ginkel getting saves, and then I said, "Oh my goodness, Archie Bradley's gone." So
how many references of and I don't know if you're gonna pick up on this, is there gonna be of Ginkel is Einhorn, Einhorn is Ginkel? You know what that's from?
no, I don't.
You've obviously never seen Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
I did see it, but a
All
long
right.
time ago, and it didn't resonate too much with me, I gotta say.
Well, I'm an idiot, so I like stupid humor like that. So
Say it again. I'm sure there's plenty of people out.
So there's a character in it named Ray Finkel, and it's a football player a la Scotty Norwood who missed the field goal in the Super Bowl, and he became a police detective and a woman named Einhorn. This is before what is more accepted now then. So when Ace Ventura, who's Jim Carrey, finds out that Finkel is Einhorn, he says it over and over. It's a big funny thing. So Finkel and Ginkel, Ginkel is Einhorn, Einhorn is Ginkel. I don't know. I just see it being the thing. I'll probably say it over and over again. Malpal, do you hear?
You know what? Dude, I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna look at the YouTube video for this part of the movie, and I'm gonna see it, and then I'll think it's funny.
Finkel is Einhorn, Einhorn is Finkel. All right.
Ginkel. But now we gotta fit Ginkel in there.
All right. So
maybe it is just you.
Maybe it is just me.
Tyler Rogers, 114 batted ball instances, and going back to last year, he's allowed 1 barrel.
All right.
So Freddie Freeman hit a grand slam again. Freddie Freeman, it took him all these years to get his first grand slam. Just the other day, he got it, I think. And then today, did he hit another grand slam today?
I don't think he did today, but he did obviously two recently. But
that was recently? Maybe I'm behind.
I think he hit his second one yesterday. I think.
Okay.
In almost back-to-back days or whatever it was, close to it. But I mean, he's just a professional hitter. Anything Freddie Freeman does not surprise.
Yes, he's great.
Yeah, he's. I think he is at the zenith of first base, right? Like who do you put ahead of Freddie Freeman in a draft at first base? I mean, you can't even really say Rizzo anymore. I do love Jose Abreu.
Yeah, that's who I would put ahead of him. But
with his consistency, but I think Freeman when he's on puts a better year together. But Abreu, you know what you're going to get. But
Freeman doesn't stay healthy enough to compare him to Abreu, in my opinion. But he's one of the best. So next year, maybe it'll be Abreu and Matt Olson, because Matt Olson's pretty good too.
Coming around.
Michael Pineda's back. He came back just he has this today was his second start since he's been back from suspension. This guy is such a weird cat. I mean, just his career in general, like when he was with Seattle, I was sure that he was going to be the next best thing. He had great mound presence. He was an excellent pitcher for a young guy. And then he got traded to New York Yankees. And I just don't think that he fit in good there. I just don't think he felt that comfortable. I don't really know. I mean, I don't know the guy or anything like that, but he didn't pitch as well when he got to Yankees. Could be a number of reasons. And then he got
Look at Sonny Gray. Look at Sonny Gray. Same thing. Some guys just aren't built for New York.
Fine. And then he got in trouble for putting that stuff on his from his. Do you remember he had it on his neck? He was
yeah.
Stuff on the pitching,
like a Vaseline or tar or whatever it was. Yeah.
And then now he's suspended for PEDs, right? Didn't he just get suspended for PEDs?
He did.
Anyway, he's back. He pitched another 7 innings today. 3 hits allowed, 2 earned runs, and he struck out 8. It's like this kid from Seattle returned or something. In fact, like for the Twins, Pineda and Maeda are the only two starting pitchers that have even made it through the 7th inning, and they've only done it once apiece. So, what do you think of Pineda? I guarantee that there's still people with him sitting out on the waiver wire right now.
I mean, I on 2 of my teams I have him.
What do you think?
I was able to keep him on my suspended list for one because it has a suspended list. On the other one, he was on he was on the wire. He was on the wire, and I picked him up this morning partly because he was facing Detroit, right?
Okay.
So I just kind of was playing the matchup, but he definitely outperformed my expectations. I mean, but Pineda is one of those guys,
For sure.
and I've had a long relationship with him fantasy wise, where you're right, it's a lot of up and down, but when he's on, he can go through a 5-start run where he is just dominant. And I don't know if he's just a heady guy and gets in his head a lot, and that's just what he is. But I tend to stick with him because I think he's got stuff. I think again he's got the mound presence out there. He's a veteran. He's crafty. He knows what he's doing. I think
he's been horrible, dude. He's been horrible. So the fact that you even have him on your team to start the season, I was like, at least you said that he is on a suspended list. Most leagues don't have that. So it's totally, at least it's a good excuse for owning him or having him on your team.
Yeah.
Anyway, he like, first of all, remember that year in Seattle when he came up? Do you remember that year, how good he looked, like how confident he was?
Yeah.
And then he went to the Yankees and he just was never the same. But we know that he has it in him. So I would suggest, at least if you can still pick up players for the week, or if you can move players around, drop anybody great for Pineda, but I would definitely give him a chance, just like I would give like Johnny Cueto a chance or J.A. Happ or whatever. You kind of know what you're getting with these guys. So with Pineda, he's always been able to strike out batters, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to hold on to him in the league that I just picked him up on. But here's a little trivia question for you.
Nobody's telling you. Nobody. Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
So when the Yankees acquired him, and I'm going off memory here. I did not look this off, so I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Who did the Yankees give up for Pineda? I believe it was a 1-for-1. It was a highly touted offensive player the Yankees gave up because Pineda was young and performing, so it was obviously a guy who had a high ceiling, and he was. But ended up.
I think I know who this is, but he ended up being a horrible catch. Was he a catcher?
Yes.
And he was horrible, right? Hold on a minute. What's his name? I can't remember his name, but he stunk. Yes. He was like, it was just goes awful. Right along with.
He gained weight. He gained weight. He couldn't hit. Yep. Jesus Montero.
Right. Yes, Jesus Montero. What? No, not good. A lot of catchers are disappointing in their. Like, what about Matt Wieters? Matt Wieters was supposed to be something so great.
Andrea, listen to me. When it comes to fantasy, and I know I'm not inventing the wheel here, but this is why I think this goes beyond fantasy. I think this goes into real life baseball. You don't bet the farm on catchers in any way, shape, or form. If you have a high catching prospect, if I'm the Giants and I have Joey Bart, and I know everyone's thinking, "Ooh, Joey Bart by association, San Francisco. Oh, he's going to be the next Buster Posey." Chances are not. You don't get catchers; just don't come to fruition. For every one Mike Piazza, you have 1,000 Jesus Monteros. If you have a catcher like the Orioles have what's his name, Adley Rutschman, right? And he's supposed to be the second coming of whoever. If I'm the Orioles, I trade him. I really do. Catchers typically don't pan out. So I would just move him along. So that was a very smart move by the Yankees, even though Pineda didn't, set the house on fire in New York. But I mean, to leverage that prospect and that hype for a catcher, I mean, I would do that across the board, personally.
The Yankees got the better end of the deal for sure.
Oh,
And I remember though in 2009, I was relatively new to fantasy, and I loved Joe Mauer, and I saw his 27 home run season, and I was like, but Joe Mauer is better than everybody, and there's no other catcher that's going to compare with Joe Mauer. So, I mean, he had a great batting average. You couldn't even get a batting average like that, you know?
yeah.
And Joe Mauer, he was horrible. Like, he wasn't horrible. He still had decent average, but he didn't ever hit that number of home runs again. And then I just remember thinking to myself, like, my logic and my reasoning for spending a lot on Joe Mauer was that you have to have somebody at catcher. And if he's going to have that much better of a season than any other catcher, then it's worth it to spend extra money on that position because everybody else in the league is going to have a shitty catcher. But that logic was not valuable. It wasn't good.
Malpal chimed in and just said maybe they should move Bart to first base. Yeah, they probably should. It seems like San Francisco's in love with Brandon Belt. Like, I feel like Brandon Belt has been on San Francisco forever.
He's having a good season, dude. He's having a great season.
He's having a good season, but I think Brandon Belt to me is the definition of like mediocrity. Like he's very vanilla. Like you always expect that big year to come. I mean, that big year because he's got a sweet stroke, almost built for San Francisco, and he just never becomes the player. So yeah, maybe they do move Bart to first base, but but going back to what you said about catchers, Andrea, what's funny is, God.
Well, Lenny kind of taught me after that because he would always spend like $2 or $3 total, or $3 or $4 total on two catchers. I mean, he would not spend a lot of money he wouldn't spend money on closers either, which I've never been able to completely jump on board with. But for catchers, like you can get, especially how deep catching is. I know it sounds stupid to say that right now because everybody's disappointed in their catcher. Like the catchers that we thought were going to be good, Mitch Garver, Sean Murphy,
Will Smith.
Catchers, Will Smith is another one. They've just been horrible. So that's disappointing. But then you have guys like Austin Nola, right? Who you could have gotten and just grabbed for free. Yeah. And he qualifies at more than one position, which makes you think, well, maybe the catcher that you have rostered is always more valuable if he's actually not playing catcher. He just qualifies there. Because,
Agreed. So, I have 2 points. Number one is what's interesting is that, who usually doesn't go high in fantasy leagues, even though he's the model of consistency, no matter how old he gets, Yadier Molina is always the model of consistency. He's going to hit you 270 with 15 home runs and driving about 80, 85 runs.
What's he doing? Is he doing well?
I'm not sure what he's doing right now, but like I know in a regular season, everyone bids for those like high ceiling guys, like you said, those Garvers, those Will Smiths, those guys. I mean,
30 home run potential.
And then you have Real Muto. Real Muto is like, he's seen as the best catcher in baseball, and I get it because he is. But think about how shallow that position if he is the best. Now, I want to segue. Go ahead. You have a thought. Go ahead. Did you want to add something? No?
No, that's fine. I was just going to say that he's actually, the fact that he gets statistics in all 5 categories is really hard to come by for a catcher. Like, and I was going to segue off into the fact that Ron Chandler, I don't know if you know who he is. Ron Chandler's like writes the Baseball Forecaster every year. And he has a system called BABS. I'll make this quick. It's a way of valuing players, and his projections on players are based off of a bunch of different things, but it had Fernando Tatis Jr. and JT Realmuto as the top 2 players in fantasy. And the reason that JT Realmuto is so valuable, according to his projection system, is that he contributes in all of these categories, right? And he doesn't, it also takes into consideration liabilities, which would be like a bad batting average or any of those things that make a batter horrible. Anyway, Realmuto is like, I understand what you're saying, that he's not like excellent at anything specific, but he's really good at like overall. I can't believe how good Fernando Tatis is doing. That Babs was clearly like, he's the best player in baseball. by far. Like nobody could compete with him as far as that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Realmuto, since we're staying on the catcher thing for a second, I just don't know in an auction league if he's worth the $25 to $27 that he goes for.
No, right. I agree with you.
So that's why I kind of subscribe to the Lenny mindset. And I think Malpal says the same thing. $2 for a catcher, right? Like that's typically what you do. And to that point, Malpal brought up a name that I wanted to get in on you, and I'm gonna get passionate here, Andrea. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Here we go. James McCann. Malpal, I'm with you. James McCann.
Okay.
I don't get what's going on with James McCann. James McCann was an all-star last year. James McCann hits his splits are it's like 290 one side, 330 the other side. So he hits lefties and righties. The guy doesn't play every day. It blows my mind. Now I get it. The White Sox have a loaded lineup. They sign Yasmani Grandal. They have a loaded probably DH. It's a clutter, but like this guy needs to play. I have him on one of my teams, and he plays, and he's my only catcher, and he plays probably once every 3 days. And I'm like, how do you? And he's batting 318 now, but he was batting like 350 like a week ago. But the guy hits. I don't understand how you keep a guy like that on your bench. Like trade him. If you're gonna trade him, trade him. But like don't
They're
just
being greedy.
I mean
They're
the
being
guy
greedy.
and let me back it up with this. Right now, James McCann is batting 318 with 3 home runs and 8 RBIs in 19 games with an 872 OPS. Okay, only 66 at bats. Yasmani Grandal is batting 257 with 5 home runs, 18 RBIs, and 109 at bats, 31 games with an 816 OPS. So
it comes down to money. Money.
I just will never understand that. Andrea, I get it. I do get it. I philosophically get it. You're paying a guy, you got to put him on the field. But don't you want to win? Don't you?
No, I think they're being. Yeah.
Like.
Okay. So there's more to catching than just hitting too. And so if Grandal is great behind the plate, which he is, that's
McCann,
an important part of this.
So's McCann.
I don't know why they didn't trade him. I know a lot of teams could use a catcher like this. And to be honest with you, I'm looking at his stats right here as you're talking about him. I'm looking at his past history, and I'm saying, okay, he started out. He's been around for a while. I don't think that it's a big surprise that he's hitting for some power and that he's hitting a decent average. Like hitting 318 is probably not. Let me look at his advanced stats real quick. His batting average on balls in play is always high anyway, but it's 375 right now. He's making better contact than he ever has. Okay. He's making 75% contact. He doesn't walk very often, but the fact that he's not getting playing time is absolutely relevant. And I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I think it frustrates you even more because in fantasy, when you see a player that that could be an addition to your roster and you see him sitting on the bench, it's very frustrating. I don't know why they didn't trade him. They really have a chance to make it all the way. And that division is extremely tight right now. And the fact that they didn't trade McCann is odd to me. They're paying him $5 million. It's not like chump change.
Yeah. And Malpal said over a year, teams do need 2 catchers, and they do, right? But when you have a performer like him, like in my experience and from what I see, is that you have your main guy who's your bigger offensive threat, and then you have more of that defensive guy who's your number 2 who plays once every 4 days, right? Like that's more so what you have. You don't have 2 all-star caliber guys. I mean, those are 2 great assets to have, but what it reminds me of, Andrew, to be honest with you, it reminds me of Jimmy Garoppolo sitting on the bench behind Tom Brady, right? It's like, here's a talented guy who deserves a shot to do what he's got to do, but instead he's wasting away on the bench behind a star that is very well paid and maybe deservedly, but let him get his shot. So it just annoys me on behalf of a James McCann owner and on behalf of James McCann himself that the guy can't play. They don't let him play.
Yeah.
So That's my 2 cents on James McCann.
Um, you're cutting out a little bit. I don't know if it's just me. Are you
Sorry
cutting
about that.
out? Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
That's okay. Do you? No problem. Um, James McCann also, the White Sox are a team that has a designated hitter. So wait, don't they? Do they all have designated hitters now?
They
Anyway,
all have
why aren't they
DHs
using
now.
him at DH? That's because they have Encarnacion, and so Encarnacion
Oh,
doesn't play first base because of Brayu. So that's really a logjam over there. And anyway, I know that's frustrating, but it is nice to point out that a catcher is doing well, even if he doesn't get playing time. What
but
else?
I'm not
Anything
look.
else? We
I'm
already
not.
talked about Marco Gonzalez.
I'm not looking at his stats right now. Actually, hold on. I'm going to pull him up quick. But Edwin is batting. What's Edwin batting this year? My God, I remember last time I looked. I remember it was pathetic.
I don't
Um,
know, but he's hitting home runs. Yeah, it's like
179.
180 or something. It's
Yeah,
bad.
I mean, don't you,
Yeah, but he's hitting home runs.
Andrea? Wouldn't you rather, if you're thinking along the lines of Major League Baseball, wouldn't you rather have a 320 hitter than a 180 hitter with a little bit more power?
Yeah.
I
A
just
320
I just
hitter over a,
over a
yes, of
180
course.
who has a little bit more
It's
power. I
money.
mean, yeah, yeah, agreed. Am I going in and out?
It's
Can you
money,
not hear me?
dude. Okay. It's kind of, it's really, it's like on and off really. I can't really hear you good, no. But
All
it
right,
just started. It wasn't like this the whole time.
all
So
right.
maybe
Let me
we
try
should
to.
call it a day for that. Oh, I wanted to say one other thing though. The Astros lawsuit. So the season ticket holders are suing the Astros, you know.
Mhm.
Um today Harris or yesterday, one of the most recent days, the district court judge, they denied the Astros effort to have the litigation thrown out of court for season ticket holders who are suing the Astros for lying to them about how good their players were and all of this. So usually in the case like this, it gets thrown out immediately. Like the fantasy sports lawsuit was thrown out immediately because the sports teams don't really owe the player or the fan much besides just playing the game. And so, you know, these typically get thrown out right away. And they said, no, you can't throw it out. We're going to hear this. So that means that the ticket holders can proceed to discovery now, including deposing players and front office executives and also the Astros owner. So unless that gets appealed or, you know, unless it gets stayed on appeal, which means, okay, then they have a couple other steps that they can go through. But the fact that they got through this first hurdle, it says something. And it says this guy who is one of the lawyers for the ticket holders, the season ticket holders, his name is Bob Hilliard. He said, this is going to be painful for the Astros, but it's a deserved pain. And under oath, the full extent of front office and top executive involvement in the genesis of this cheating playbook should finally become crystal clear. Perhaps this permanent stain on a once proud team will fade some over time. But for now, and maybe forever, the Astros wear a label of shame that prevents players and sports fans from having any respect for the franchise. Do you agree with that? Or do you think that, I mean, I would love to have discovery on this case. I would love for it to be public and actually hear what these guys have to say under oath, where they can't lie. And even though MLB promised them immunity, like that doesn't mean immunity from ticket holders or another different case.
Um, I think I think that probably 80% of the teams.
Could you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You think 80% of the teams were doing it?
I think 80% of the teams were doing it. So if you're going to open up this Pandora's box, I think it's going to be a very slippery slope. I think that there's going to be a lot of things that are going to come to light. I think it's a bunk case. I mean, what? Because the fans feel like they were gypped out
The
of real
fans,
baseball.
they
Go
say
ahead.
that they are suing. They're arguing that they're suing over years-long fraudulent marketing because the team told fans the club's success was based on hard work and not on the stolen signals. And
Get out of here, Andrea. I
it's
honestly can't. I can't even. I honestly can't
so.
even.
What are
Like,
they? What I mean, and now the pandemic, nobody like about all the other season tickets past the next stage of the game. I definitely think that the Astros are going to be able to get it thrown out of court. And I also think that the fantasy players lawsuit was kind of bunk too. I mean, you can't what the Astros said they were good, so you went and bet all your money on the Astros, and now you don't have any money, so you're trying to like sue to get your money back. But it's really comes down to taking responsibility for the, you know, you know that there's a chance that they're not going to be good, and for whatever reason, you take that risk. You can't say, and how would they ever know? How would they be able to decipher between the people that played because the Astros were supposed to be good or the people that played because they just wanted to? Does every person that spent money on daily fantasy get their money back? That's just a
yeah,
Pandora's box. Like you said, it's like a slippery slope from hell.
yeah. Andrea, listen, I'm gonna
So
piggyback. I'm gonna piggyback a little bit, and I hope you can hear me clearly, because Malpow brought up
I
a very
can.
interesting. Okay, Malpow brought up a very interesting point. He said, um, then fans need to give back the excitement they received while they were in the World Series if they're so distraught now, right? That's, as a fan and as a season ticket holder, that's why I'm a fan. I go for the excitement. I go for the high-fiving of people I do not know, the hugs of people I do not know when the team is on a
Beers.
high. There's the beers, right? There's the food, but it's the overall atmosphere, and the Astros delivered on that, right? They delivered on it.
They
So
did. They
so
and so did the Red
so
Sox and the Yankees, and every team was.
and the more light that gets put on this, and I've been thankful for COVID that this has gone, and I know the Astros probably do too, that this has gone into the rearview mirror, because I was so sick of talking about it in the offseason. But Major League Baseball must be happy about COVID too, because I got to be honest with you, and I stuck to my guns on this one. I
Oh,
think Major League Baseball holds more of the bag on this than the Astros do, because technology didn't sneak up on anybody, Andrea. Technology was there. They knew it through the Red Sox Apple thing. They knew that it was going to happen again. They didn't put guidelines in place, and then it happened again. And then Major League Baseball is the best at pointing the fingers at everybody else except for themselves, and I'm sick of it. So listen, I want this to be done. Tell the fans, you got what you paid for. Let's all move on.
when you say that you can't use technology to steal signs, right? You don't be clear and specific with the rules that you have about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And you send a person to go into the video replay room, and that's all they do with their time. The entire game is wait for the time to do a replay, and the rest of the time they're just sitting there and they have plenty. What else would they do with their time in there? It's just so,
Yeah.
to me, it just seems so like it was bound to happen with the way that it was set up, that you're almost looking at teams like, if you're not using the video replay guide to study the pitches, then you're just not using a valuable opportunity to get better. And the thing is that it's not set in stone what the rules are with the technology, what you can and can't use. Like, should you be able to wear an Apple Watch? No, you shouldn't be able to wear an Apple Watch. If you can cheat on it, right? No, you shouldn't be able to instill a camera in the center field bleachers that's pointed directly at the base. The home
Yep.
plate is pointed directly at home plate. Think about all the capabilities that these cameras have nowadays. You could put a camera in there that can zoom in so close that you could read the signs, no problem. And it's almost like you're not the getting an advantage over the other teams is the number one goal, that you have to always be continuously changing your game plan. And the fact that they didn't think that anybody would be utilizing these technology. But still, to this day, baseball has not made it clear. The rules have not set out a specific set of rules that you can and can't do. You can't just say you can't use technology to steal signs. Well, they're using all kinds of technology to play the game. And it just seems like they would have figured out, and they've known about it for a long time. They saw it coming, just like you said. They saw it coming. They did not take the measures necessary. They just tried to sweep it under the rug like it wasn't happening, even though they knew that it was. Just like they knew that steroids was going on too.
Yeah,
it's a disappointment. But I think that COVID made it pretty clear that they don't care about their fans or their players. Actually, they think, well, they're trying to impress the fans right now by pandering, but that is a whole other story, and we won't go there. Okay, so we got.
Just you know what?
I mean, sports.
Yeah, you know, I just wanted to get, since we're talking about like this season and all this stuff, and I'm gonna move off the Astros for a second. I just wanted to get, while we only have a couple of minutes left, what's your thoughts on these 7-inning games? I actually don't have a taste for them at all. They actually annoy the hell out of me. I hate the extra inning thing, and I hate the 7-inning games. But I'm curious as to your thoughts.
Hate the starting pitcher usually gets. Oh, can you see me? And maybe it's me that's cutting out this whole time.
I got you.
I don't like the fact that the starting pitcher the starting pitcher doesn't get to pitch late into the game. They usually have like 4 or 5 or 6 pitchers in 7 innings, and it's annoying.
Yep.
Other than that, I don't have a problem with it. I don't need a game to last for 9 innings.
Yeah.
You?
I mean, I'm a bit of a purist. I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I love it. I think it screws with stats too. I think, the beauty of baseball, the romanticism of baseball is that it's a 9-inning game, and you just know what you're going to get, and anything can happen in that 9 innings. Once you start to abbreviate that game, you start to, in my estimation, you start to pollute it. Because it's like, okay, well, this was a 7-inning game and not a 9-inning game. And then the stat books. I mean, baseball is a numbers game. You ask any avid baseball fan, and they're numbers geeks. We just all are. We might not be mathematicians, but we're numbers geeks when it comes to baseball statistics. And once you start playing with those statistics, whether it be a runner at second base that's just inherited out of nowhere, or a 7-inning game, you start to screw with the baseline of what that is. And baseball is a beautiful, and from where I stand, a perfect sport. And the more they tinker with it, because of, fans will like a shorter game, or fans will like this, or maybe baseball on its own, just because of the players and the excitement, should garner the excitement back, not because it's a 3.5-hour game. Hell, and you know what? Maybe I'm on an island by myself with other baseball purists, but if a baseball game on a Sunday afternoon goes 6 hours, I'm excited. I just got 6 hours of baseball. I'm excited. I get it. Not everybody's wired like me, but still, if you don't like it, I mean, I don't know. I just think baseball's great the way it is. I hope that this is just for this season, and they move back to 9-inning games, back to extra innings, the way it was, and that was it.
I see Big Poppy, dude, on your wall. Big Poppy.
Oh yeah, that's his book.
Yes, I see Big Poppy up there. Yeah.
I know you're.
So I think. Yes, Big Poppy
You're a big
for president.
I know.
Big Poppy for president. Yes. All right, we're out of here. Everybody have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. And wait, it's 9:39 or 9:59, right? 9:59?
9:59. Yeah. Thank you, Malpal. Thank you, Lenny. Andrea, this was great. This is great. I enjoyed it. I know I don't have the pizzazz of Lenny Melnick, but it was fun. I hope we could do this again soon.
It's okay. You don't always have to have his pizzazz to be a decent show. Lenny's on an island all of his own.
Yeah.
And he will be here tomorrow talking about the games tonight. Everybody have a good night.
All right. Talk to you later, Andrea.